The truth is, no one likes to handle difficult behaviors. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 10 powerful lessons that will help you handle bias, prejudice, and yes, even bullying with confidence, with compassion, and with real candor. I know these work because I've used them in my own career, when I went from shying away from handling conflict to confronting it head on. So many leaders come to us today at Soaring Leadership because they want to handle difficult personalities without losing their integrity. And if that's you, you're in the right place. These are the top 10 leadership lessons in handling bias, prejudice, and bullying. Ready to get started? Let's begin. Lesson number 1, every leader faces difficult behaviors, and you're not alone. As leaders, we all encounter behaviors that challenge us. We face bias, prejudice, and sometimes even bullying. I certainly did when I started out. I didn't know what to do. There was no playbook, so I had to work through trial and error. And boy, did I make some mistakes. But then I realized that when you understand how to respond to each behavior with the right mindset and with the right tools, you can take your influence back and protect your culture that you're responsible for. Lesson number 2, understand the culture that you're walking into. We don't always have the choice in picking our teams, especially when we're in a new position. Imagine this. It's the early 2000s in a large manufacturing plant. A new production manager, let's call her Joyce, takes over. She walks into the workplace full of mistrust. Management and union barely communicate. Employees feel unheard, morale is low, and productivity is slipping. This is the culture she inherits. Lesson number 3, candor is a leader's superpower. Great leaders care really deeply and they challenge it directly. One of the best examples of this comes from a real story I want to share with you. When I first stepped into the production management role after 5 years of engineering, I felt that mix of excitement and fear at the same time. I had never led a team before, let alone be responsible for the entire plant. Yes, I'd taught horseback riding lessons when I was growing up, and that gave me a taste of leadership, but leading riders in the field is very different from leading people in a multinational manufacturing company. Back then, union management relationships were tense. Think of two sides of pushing against each other for years, old grievances, old stories, old habits. It wasn't personal, but it was the culture. And I was walking straight into it as a young, less experienced woman taking on a role that people expected to be held by an older man. Yes, that was it back then. And then came the moment that tested me. About a month into the job, the union steward, who had decades more experience than I did, stormed into my office. He launched into swearing and shouting match with me, and before I could even say a single word, he was on me. It was aggressive, it was intimidating, and it was absolutely deliberate. This wasn't about the issue he was raising, it was about me, the test. Bias-fueled assumption that I was a young woman who wouldn't have the strength to lead in this environment. And in that moment, something clicked in my mind. I can't even tell you why. I knew what I had to do. I needed to be candid in that moment. I stood up. I looked him in the eye and I said, if you want to talk to me, you need to stop swearing. Otherwise, you can leave my office right now. He kept going. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't match his aggression, and I didn't step down either. I held the line. Eventually, he stormed out furious. But here's the real lesson. Holding the line isn't the end of the leadership, it's the beginning. Later that day, I walked over to him calm, respectful, and steady, and I simply said, "Are you ready to talk now?" He thought about it for a minute and then said he was. We didn't become best friends, but something important shifted on that day. He realized that I wouldn't be bullied. He realized that I would treat him with respect, but I expected the same in return. And that moment set the tone for a strong working relationship built on candid conversation, fairness, and mutual respect. Lesson number 4, address the truth with honesty. Instead of pretending that everything was fine, I sat down with the union leaders. Tough at first because we needed to name the elephant in the room. I used conversations that sounded like this. I know management hasn't always listened to you. I want to change that, but I need honesty from all of us. We can't solve anything when we don't listen to each other. I promise to let you speak and I will truly listen, but then I need the same from you in return. And we won't always agree, and that's okay. That moment opened the door to a real conversation. But remember, not all conversations come easy. In the beginning, you'll deal with many different personalities and behaviors. Let's review bias, prejudice, and bullying. That brings us to lesson number 5. If bias shows up for you, use I statements. Bias is often unintentional. It comes from limited experience and perspective. And we all differ in these areas. The way to handle it is with curiosity and empathy. And the lesson I learned very quickly is to reduce the defensiveness in the other person. People put up defenses when they feel attacked. A simple way this happens is when we direct statements at the other person. You did this and you acted this way, or you'll never change. If you ever heard anyone say this, you know the feeling of that wall going up, and we immediately try to defend ourselves. It's normal, we're human. The trick we would like to share is using I statements. I see this differently. I believe there's another perspective. I wonder what makes you think that. When we do this simple shift, we move the conversation from what we think they do wrong to the way the behavior or action makes you feel, the way it makes you think, or even makes you behave a certain way. When you talk about yourself, it's hard for other people to disagree with you. Here's an example. When you yell and swear at me, it's hard for me to hear you. I feel really bad and then I can't think straight. I'll likely shout back at you and I don't want to do that. How can we do this better? This opens the conversation, not the conflict. Lesson number 6, prejudice. Use it statements. Prejudice is more rigid. It's built on deeply held beliefs. Feelings won't shift it, however, facts and boundaries will. Here we suggest you use it statements. It's against policy. It's not acceptable behavior. It's important for everyone to treat each other with respect. Now the standard guides the conversation. Not an attack on their personality, but instead focus shifts to the policies and the rules in place. This does not focus on our opinions. And then number 7, when you encounter bullying, use you statements. You see, bullies thrive on control. They test your limits to see how far they can get to win. And they push the limits to see what they can get away with. Here, you must respond firmly. That's where you can use you statements. You were crossing the line. You need to stop now. You are creating a hostile environment. This isn't a discussion. This is a boundary being set, and that's okay. You need to stop them in their tracks. Lesson number 8, respond with respect even when you're challenged. Regardless of what you face, you can usually respond with respect. Take that veteran steward showing up. They're skeptical and frustrated. Their perspective is different from yours. They say, why should we believe you that you're any different from past management? You're all the same. In that moment, many leaders avoid the conversation. It feels uncomfortable and you want to push back immediately. But instead, you can answer calmly. I can't ask you to believe me. I can only show you by my actions. I'm willing to try, but I need you to give me a chance. That candor is with respect. Opens the door to allow the other person to meet you halfway. But don't expect them to change immediately. This stuff takes time and patience. Lesson number 9, back up your words with actions. So we got to this point, but now we needed to follow through. You see, in my case, I worked hard to fix the ignored safety issues. I created open forums to allow discussions to be had. I let the union steward complain about things that weren't moving fast enough. In fact, I agreed with them and I listened a lot. But the key is I kept taking action, and slowly the toughest voices in the plant became our strongest allies. Trust follows truth, not the other way around. Finally, we're at lesson number 10. Courage is the leadership competency. None of this is easy. Bias, prejudice, and bullying, they test your patience and your confidence. Leaders don't need to match force with force, but they do need to set clear boundaries, hold their ground, and return the conversation with respect. Courage is the muscle. You need to practice it with candor, the truth with empathy, and it becomes stronger the more you do it. And like me, you can transform even the toughest environments when you lead with honesty, respect, and follow through. If you're navigating situations like this, don't give up too early. Get out of your comfort zone and use the tools in your tool belt. Practice active listening. Try to stay calm. Let others speak their truth respectfully. And know that you don't have to do it alone. At Soaring Leadership, we help leaders build real confidence. Bias, prejudice, and bullying show up in moments where someone wants to test who you are. If you want to take the next step, you can explore our free Leadership Essentials program or book a consultation with me and we can help you out. I spent over 30 years leading teams in manufacturing and I genuinely care about helping you succeed. I'd love to support your leadership journey, so let's talk.